am in the frickin' hotel room. Uh, I'm in a pod in New York City, and this is like the smallest fucking room I've ever been in. But all I do is sleep, so what do I care? Like the bathroom is legit 3.5 steps from the front door of the the fucking room. Um, it's gonna be a little bit weird too. I'm on just a laptop, so I can't even see comments or whatever. But I'm just gonna sneak back in here and see if anybody is here. It looks like we got some people viewing. So if you can give me a confirmation that oh, you know what? I didn't even connect my AirPods, so I'm not even sure if I got volume. Am I just talking to fucking nothing? Do 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 do. Did not work. That's super. Hmm. Okay, now they're just trying to piss me off. You can actually hear me? I think I'm talking through loud and unclear. Fuck me. Um, all right, I might just have to go for it. I'm gonna try one more time to connect to the AirPods. No dice. Let me see here. What am I actually connected to? Let me check the default microphone. Okay, so I guess it's going through my webcam. All right, I'm gonna try to make it happen. Sounds like a shoebox. Yeah, I actually am. You know what? Maybe I can turn off the freaking air conditioning. Oh boy, yeah, this is insane. All right, it's this room is probably smaller than an industrial fridge. So, what's up, Howard? What's up, David? What's up, Owl? Draymond, David. All right. Yeah, we're just gonna have to plow through. For some reason, I didn't check to see that my AirPods were connected. So let's just try to do a speed run here. It's gonna be a little bit of out of necessity, but I think a lot of people are owning Misty because they don't want to like, oh, it's too much trouble to trade options on their own, but it's really not that serious. So put me on the clock. 10:41. Let's fricking go. GameStop. I got this expiring today. Roll expirations to next week. I got paid 80. I'm paying 3 cents to roll it. I'm gonna roll up to just below at the money. Get paid another 80 bucks. I'm just gonna try to get this to fill. So I'm gonna actually accept a lower price. Done. Next. So here's the problem. I'm getting wrecked on the 320s, which is good news for the rest of my account, but I don't think I have that much in cash. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. So 5 of these, let's close them. $20,000. So I limited my upside by 20,000 this week by selling those covered calls. And now I've got to come up with 20,000 to make sure that I'm not using any margin here. 28 days left on these 375s. I could try to roll these now, but there's still a ton of extrinsic value, so I don't think I will mess with those. Same thing here. And let's see, that's up to 9 covered calls. So I can sell 5 more weeklies. So let's go out here. If I go 3% out of the money to like the 375, 380, I can recoup a little bit of more of the premiums that I lost, but not much. And so let's see what the damage is. I still got to come up with 15 grand. And this is the reason why I've been stacking the long calls in the first place. These September debit spreads, I'm gonna dump like half of these for a tiny profit. They're probably positions that I shouldn't have picked up in the first place because the bid-ask spreads are kind of shite. So I'm going to be more than happy to exit some of these positions at a very, very small profit. That's probably not going to fill. Let's try 340. There we go. Let's just analyze that a little bit. So the trade price changed on me. Anyway, just going to take advantage of the pump to dump some of these call debit spreads. I'd have to look and see if I even made 10% on those things. Couldn't have been much. So now I got to come up with another 11.5. So these poor man's covered calls are just barely in profit finally. The net theta on these is going to be positive 50. So I have to decide whether I want to take off these positions, the Septembers, and I'll basically double up on anything that I take off here, or any of my other longs. I could even take the Januaries off for a loss, but I would prefer to take some actual profits if possible. So I think it makes sense to close one of these positions, remove a little bit more leverage. That's going to give me 12.5. And let's try to get a quick fill. I'm going to try to take a little bit less than the mid price here. No insta fill, so I'm just going to replace it. Lock it down a little bit more. There we go. Cool. I've got about $1,000 to spend. I'm not sure which is more correct, the 1,000 or the 3,000 settled. But, I'm hoping we go to 450, 500, all-time highs, all of that good shit. But if we don't, then at least this leveraged position won't get wrecked again. These all will. But let's check. Tesla's been on for 9 days. Not really anything I need to do here. Yeah. That account is done. I actually didn't check. I got to be winning the MSTY, IMST thing at this point. But I actually didn't check. I'm guessing I probably pulled even at 355. So 360, 365 is probably giving me like a slight edge, but that's just ballparking. All right, the joint account. Yeah, nothing really to do here because I've got 28 days left on these. I can wait a little bit longer to roll these. Bunch of extrinsic value still. Same thing here. Now the question is, are there any leverage positions that I can and should take some profit in? And move over to shares. Or even into a another Tesla position. Maybe the September 1080. I can like 4x my money on this thing, right? I bought it for 237. Yeah, let's just close it. It's not like high IV rank or anything, but there's just so much leverage in these accounts. I really went overboard. All right, $1,000. I can get. Can I get 3 shares with what I got? It's gonna be cutting it pretty close. $10.93.98, and I've got 1091. Let's see if I can. Nope. Let's just do 2. All right, didn't do anything drastic there, but keeping it moving. Now this is my basically discretionary spending. Did I add some money to this thing? Okay, so you can see that my Tesla credit spreads are gone. So now I have $2,000 to spend. Let's check activity. That must have filled today. Actually, it was 2 days ago since I've been here. All right, so I sold these spreads for 200 each, and I was attempting to buy them back for half of that. That filled on May 23rd, so that's cool. So I have no more Tesla position. Now, do I want to, so they just had earnings. I'm just going to look and see if it makes sense to add another one. So I'm going to go to 42 days to expiration. I'm going to go to the expected move. Let's do 225 to 215, $10 wide. I'm risking $1,000. I'm only collecting 165. I sold the other ones for 2. Delta is 0.15. So as long as I'm collecting more than $150 here, basically the 0.15 times 1,000, which is what this spread is worth, this seems reasonable. And this is probably going to be a low IV environment because they just had earnings, but IV rank is still 39. It's over 25, which is Tasty Trade's kind of like baseline. Like under 25, they're really sketchy about getting some premium. So those actually filled at the mid price. Tesla's very liquid, tight bid-ask spreads. Have the wrong account selected? No? Okay, so where's my position? All right, let's refresh. Okay, there it is. All right, so now I sold this one for, how would I sell it for? $1.63 credit, so I'm going to attempt to buy it back for 81 cents. Close position, full 0.81. Time and force, good till close. Review and send. Done. All right, so I don't have to watch this. I can just let it win or lose. All right, same deal here. I've got some 1080s. I can basically double my money here. So to honor my penny stock trader that I used to follow, Quick Fingers Luke, he said you always participate in the bounce. So I am going to sell half of these for double, which makes sure that, well, not quite half, I have 5, so I'm going to sell 2. So I'm going to basically make sure that 2 of these 5 positions cannot lose money. They will at least break even. So let's just do 2. And let me tab over here to the comments and see if I'm saying anything stupid. What's up, Deeply? Owl says, why IV kind of dead? I don't know. I guess the market's just not impressed with 20% moves. So David says, sold my first strategy covered calls on April 8th. Okay, so right before the run up. May 9th, 380s, 395s, and 400. Should I have rolled yesterday? I'll have to come back to that stuff. I got to plow through this since I'm on the clock. Let me just jump in here. So I've got another $2,000 to spend. Let's see if it'll let me buy 3 shares, or if I only have enough for 2. That's 1,100. Okay, let me do it, even though I have $2,000 locked up in those credit spreads. All right, so that works. Here's the challenge account. So getting wrecked on the 335. I limited my upside by about 2,800 here. But I think, wow, even my 365, I'm going to barely break even on this one. So I almost nailed the strike exactly. That's kind of cool. But let's close that bad boy. So I just didn't really limit my upside. I didn't profit on the premium on that 365 strike. I'd like to say I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't. All right, so I've got, why do I have a 350? Oh, that's, holy shit, that's 28 days out. I could get absolutely destroyed on this bad boy. So that'll be interesting to see how that works out. But it's got 28 days to expiration. It's got a shitload of extrinsic value, or excuse me, left. 365 minus 350 is 1,500. So if I subtract the 15 from 37, that leaves me with 22. So there's 2,200 of extrinsic value still left in this. So even though this covered call strike is getting wrecked, I don't really feel any urgency to roll this now. If I'm going to get screwed on it, I might as well just wait until there's no extrinsic value left here. If I roll it now, I have to pay for all that extrinsic value. However, some of these 425s can probably come off to pay for the 4,000. So let's sell at least one. I'm just going to kind of do this one at a time. That's going to give me 12 grand to play with. If I can get a fill. I'm going to keep walking this down slightly because I don't want to overpay. There we go. All right, 9 grand. I need 36 to buy 100 shares. But at least I got rid of margin, and I have 13 shares. So what if I peel off another one? I still don't think that's going to come quite. Yeah, I need another 13,000. Let's do one more. Come on. I've got exactly 1 hour to check out. Gotta get the fuck out of here. All right. Yeah, so that's going to give me the cash I need. I believe that's going to be real close. But I'm going to be able to sell some more covered calls as well. So let's buy 100 shares. I'm basically just trying to de-risk the portfolio by eliminating leverage, taking some profits when I can to offset the losses in the covered calls that I limited. All right, so let's see what I got here. I've got 4 leaps. I've got 4 covered calls. And so the poor man's covered calls are all set. This is probably still over leveraged a little bit, potentially. I guess I've got the same number of shares covered call contracts as I do leveraged contracts. So I guess I have about twice as much cash in shares than I do leaps. So I think I'm kind of back to where I started when I started this account. I'll have to go look and see. January 23rd is when I started this. So again, I can double up money here and take profits. But let's go ahead and, oh, I still got a little bit of margin. I've got 1 covered call against shares, so I can sell 3 more covered calls. I'm inclined to not go a little too crazy in case we're about to run. So maybe I'll do 1 at the money for next week, but the other 2, let's go to the expected move on the 390. I'll do 1 weekly. And the other 2, I'm going to go out to 45-ish days. So 2 more covered calls. They just populated the June 6th. These were not available earlier in the week. So again, I'm just going to go out to the expected move, maybe a little bit outside, but I'm just going to find a nice round number. I'll hit the 450. So Best case scenario is I roll this every 2 weeks for half of what I got paid for it. So for like 650. So if I cut 650 in half again, the average profit on this would be 325, which isn't quite 1% returns a week. So these type of potential returns as a pure premium play would not keep up with the 10% Misty distributions, but there's some extra upside built in here that MSTY is not taking advantage of. So that weekly that I sold for, what was it, 450 or something, that's about 1.5% a week. That's pretty much keeping up with Misty's dividends. But let's go ahead and knock that out. So that gave me 2,500, but I feel obligated to peel off some type of, actually I peeled off a ton of leverage down here. So maybe I will leave the 1080s alone, even though I can double up on those. Maybe I'll just sell one, right? That's 2 shares. Just one. Just being a little bit disciplined about taking leverage off when I can. So now I've got 3,400. I can almost get 10 shares. So let's just try to buy 9. Perfect. So I'm slowly trying to add shares. So I do understand that I'm buying shares at a higher cost basis, but I'm taking the basically 40% profits on these long calls. Not quite. I have to subtract the $1,000 here, so we'll call it 30%. So I made 30% returns on these $300 longs in 90 days. 30% is 10% a month, so that's actually pretty perfect with Misty. Let's see, the Septembers have been open for 42 days, and I basically doubled my money on the one that I sold. So 100% profit in 42 days is not bad. And then eventually, if I can get rid of all of the leverage and just be back in shares, if strategy crashes 30% again, this account only loses the share value and doesn't lose any of the leverage losses. All right, the 5K account, and just time check. I started at 11:41. That was 19. That's 25 minutes to do the main account. And let's see, this expires today. CLSK $9 put. It's pretty close to 9. I think I'm just going to let this expire at the end of the day. It'll either expire worthless. Like I sold it for 22, and there's only 5 more hours left. That's like $1 an hour. Yeah, I think I'll just wait on that one. The $8 strikes, this 100 shares is getting called away, so that's fine. The $6 iron is getting called away, probably for a loss. Both of these would probably be for some amount of a loss. The iron $5 put, why is there, oh, this is 530. Yeah, sorry. This is the one that I opened with my brother-in-law. We might need to take some action on that soon if the price continues to run. But CLSK and iron will get called away. That will be fine. I will get some extra buying power on Monday when that happens. But until then, I don't really have any buying power to spend. The 530 strategy is not ready to roll. I've got the $5 put, it's saying it's a penny, but that's not true because the bid-ask spread is probably just crap right now. Yeah, the bid-ask spread is 7 cents wide, so that's fake news. Probably nothing to do here. Just wait for CLS, CLSK and IREN to get called away. I could try to roll IREN to next week, I suppose. I don't think I can get 45, so I wouldn't be able to roll this for a credit. So I think I'm just gonna maybe just sell a cash secured put. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Even for next week, I can only get, $10. So I'll turn around and sell a cash secured put, maybe with the cash, if I have enough. All right, that's it. I'm going to let the CLSK put expire, the CLSK call expire, the IREN call expire, and then we'll reconvene on Monday. All right, let's check the chats and call it good. Oh, sorry. So May 9th is 2 expirations. Yeah. And so it's already hitting 380, 395, 400s. Should I have rolled yesterday? No. When I'm selling them that short, so on April 8th from May 9th, so that was a month away. Every 2 weeks is pretty standard on those. And this one's been open for 17 days. It's not that you should or shouldn't have. It really just you should probably just get in the habit of, if you're going to sell monthlies, roll every 2 weeks when you can. 45 days is generally every 2 to 3 weeks. But, once you're locked into that contract, if the price goes against you, there's really no way to fix it. You're kind of stuck. You can, if you think the price is going to run, then you can just exit it completely and dust yourself off and admit defeat. But yeah, like rolling one day versus the next is not really super critical, I don't think. Barney says, any thoughts on IV continuing to trail off lower on MSTR? Is it really that low? 20.9. I can't remember what it was. The premiums are pretty much the same. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. Andre, remember Josh Mann telling someone that a particular DTE for a leap was getting full. What does that mean? I don't know. A particular DTE for a leap was getting full. If I had to guess, it was like getting so deep in the money that the delta was so high that there was not really a lot of room for it to grow. Like delta can only go up to 1. I mean, hypothetically, it can never truly reach 1, probably 99.99999. So it's possible that, for example, like now, doesn't even matter, I guess a leaps, let's go out to 45. So if you own If you own something that's just crazy deep in the money, the delta's like 0.95, there's nowhere for it to go. It can only get to 0.99. So you can just see it's having a hard time growing. Whereas if you if you have something that's 0.5, 0.6, whatever, it can still continue to grow to 0.8, 0.9. But once it's already 0.9, it's so deep in the money that it's moving in lockstep with the strategy price, and it's not as there's not as much upside left. But getting full is some kind of metaphor, and that's the only one that seems to make sense to me. 523, 375 strikes. We're at 365 today, and the covered call is in the mud. When would you recommend rolling? Should I let time go by and see how the price plays out, or should I roll? Yeah, I always just look and see. So you have the 523, 375s. So I might be in a similar situation with mine. Yeah, I'm actually in a worse situation. My May 23rd, I have the 350s. So what I usually do is, so yours are still out of the money, so they've got a bunch of extrinsic value left. I generally just do nothing. And if I have to hold these until expiration, I still may get screwed. I mean, we could be at 425 a share, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and I have to make a decision about whether to let some shares get called away. But if I try to roll this now, I gotta pay that $2,200 of extrinsic value, which is more than the extrinsic value that I sold in the first place. So if I roll expirations to 42, I could squeeze a little bit more out if I roll to 56. But yeah, I can't even roll this out of the money. That would still cost me money. So I'm probably just going to sit on my hands and do nothing. But, if you only have a precious few shares and you're like, you know what, I cannot afford to let these get called away, you can just cut bait and call it a failed experiment. But, in this particular account, I have myself positioned with so much leverage that if I have to pay, even if we run to 400 a share by May 23rd, if I have to pay $5,000 to roll this and not let my shares get called away, I've got like, 16 grand worth of leverage here that I can peel off to cover it and make sure that my shares don't get called away. So if you don't have something like this protecting the covered call, that could be a problem. But you sold them. You probably sold monthlies or close to it. Yeah, I generally don't like to roll if there's a ton of extrinsic value left. But if you cannot stomach your calls being called away, then you might have to do something early. But yeah, with monthlies, I just generally roll every 2 weeks. If I can't roll for a credit, then I usually just keep waiting and waiting and waiting and let it get closer to expiration. Once it would be like, the Wednesday before expiration, there's almost no extrinsic value left, then I'd try to roll it. But otherwise, with covered calls, I generally just sit and wait until I can roll for a credit. Andre, is MSTR IV too high right now to consider buying a long call for September, October DTE, or just go for it? It's actually still pretty low, I think. IV hasn't really spiked considerably. So I would still consider this a low IV environment. Should we just redirect and go all in on CEP? I have not even looked at it. I know some people scalped it and made a bunch of money, but I'm not familiar with the product yet. New York is great. I got to meet a lot of people that watch the show, and we've had some pretty deep conversations. Got to shake hands with Sailor. That was pretty cool. So can't wash my hands for the rest of my life, I guess. Also was fanboying over Saifedean. I was torn because Sailor was done with his speech and he was kind of holding court, and I wasn't gonna walk away from that situation, as he was, just answering people's questions and interacting. But Safe was over there signing books, and I was like, "Fuck! I need to split myself in half so I can be two places at once." But I was able to get to shake Safe's hand as well, and tell him that that his content was instructional for me, and so I was happy about that. What's up, Danimal? Let's see. Okay, thanks. I got a bad feeling this coming strategy call is going to make the price rip. That is possible, and that's another good a good call out. So in general, with strategy, I'm so terrified of some kind of earnings announcement that, I mean, I know we're estimating that they didn't make enough money to get into the S&P 500, so maybe no FASB fireworks with Q1, but it is going to be the first time that they report FASB, whether or not it qualifies for S&P 500, and maybe the market reacts to it. Maybe the market is finally like, oh, this is not intangible accounting, this makes more sense to us, and maybe the algorithms are like, oh fuck, and they'll figure it out and the price runs. So I'm also a little bit paranoid of that as well. So in general, a strategy, I don't like to carry covered calls over earnings. And with the weeklies, it's not a big deal. But for me to take off 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 covered calls is going to cost me a bunch of money. So in the challenge account, I think I'm just going to treat it like a fully covered all the time play and just put myself at risk for the price running up. But in my main account, if I take off all of these covered calls, the only way that I can do that is if I sell some shares or sell some of my leverage in the first place. So that's kind of annoying. Maybe I'll take off the weeklies. Yeah, maybe I'll take off the weeklies the day of earnings in case the price runs, and I'll just leave all of my monthly and longers on. Joshua, good morning. Happy episode 400. Thank you very much. It's been a ride. Thanks, Howard. You're welcome, Dylan. Jason says that your September 1080 is almost green. Yeah, depending on what price you got in at, you're probably, barely just trying to break even. Where are they? Yeah, I think I dollar cost averaged into my September's. Well, yeah. So I still probably lost I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 50 grand on the Junes and Julys combined. So I've got a long way to go before these make up for that blunder. Shit, I don't know how long I've been talking now, but anyway, it probably took about 30 minutes to trade to tweak every single position in this portfolio. So, 30 minutes once a week to trade covered calls, like, I don't think that's that much. But yeah, if you don't want to learn how to do it, you want to outsource that to MSTY or IMST for the convenience. I won't complain, but I think it's really not that time intensive. I don't think. All right, one last chat check, and then I'm calling it. I got to pack up my shit. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching 400.